I want to meet face to face.
I'm looking at you right now.
Excuse me?
I'm in your backyard.
Welcome back, friends and conspiracy theorists, to the Complete Guide to Horror podcast. Today, we're shit-talking The Box, the 2009 film starring Cameron Diaz, Frank Langella, or Langella, Lasagna, anyway, he's cancelled anyway, and James Marsden. The confusing, erratic plot follows a married couple who are offered $1 million to push a button. Simple. However, someone whom they don't know will die.
We all die. You either kill yourself or get killed.
I have very mixed feelings about this movie. There's so many bizarre choices, from Cameron Diaz's attempt at an accent,
I hate you,
all the way through to the just confusing messages around the human condition, aliens taking over the world, the really bad writing. Again, I have to point out, this is the same writer-director as Donnie Darko, but this movie just doesn't have the same cult following like Donnie Darko. It's not quite as idolized or doesn't have that mystery. This is a fucking shit bomb of a movie. So why is it my pick of the month? Well, I love seeing the reactions of others who watch this. I've made my older sister watch this. I've made my mum watch it. I've made various partners watch this movie. Every single time they turn around to me and go, why the fuck did you make me watch that?
Isn't there anything on that isn't about boxes?
And welcome back to Championship Boxing.
I guess this is okay. I mean, it's not really about boxes. I give up.
And just fills my heart with so much joy. But I do have to admit, when I first saw this way back in 2009, I was a fan. I don't know why I was a fan, but now, even rewatching it where I thought I knew the plot ahead of time, and I've seen this probably 5-6 times before, I'm still confused. I still don't fucking get what is supposed to be happening in this movie, why the writing is so helter-skelter. And, you know, I've spoken about this before, I'm quite a hardcore Twilight Zone purist. Like, I love the 50s TV series, the 80s remake, the 2002 one, some episodes of the Jordan Peele remake, but I hate that the simplicity of the original story is just overtaken by aliens, demons, librarians bleeding out of their noses, and just weird bullshit plot holes. And somehow there's a Christmas theme to this as well, so that's why we're releasing it this Christmas.
Nothing wrong with getting a front row seat, I suppose.
I didn't think it was that bad, to be honest. Like, when I started watching this, I was like, oh well, I know this is Justin's pick because I knew it was like a love-hate relationship or something that you wanted to shit on, to put it one way. So I was just like, oh god, this is gonna be horrible. I just watched I Know Who Killed Me. I feel like all of these contributing factors probably made me enjoy it more than maybe I would if I watched it again, but I didn't mind it because it was like, the acting wasn't spectacular, but production wise it was a big step up from I Know Who Killed Me. It kept me guessing throughout. I do agree that it is a very simple premise, and it just kind of just skyrockets from there, and now it's this, now it's this, now it's this. I didn't mind that because I kept like trying to come up with different ways. Oh no, I think it's this. Oh no, I think it's this. What it ended up actually being was something I guessed earlier on, and then it actually kind of threw me off that. So I didn't mind it. I feel like this is another one of those movies that could have done really well as a TV show. I feel like if this was something that they explored and were able to, like it's like most movies, last 20 minutes of almost any movie, if it's a big grandiose idea and they're not too sure how to wrap things up, it can feel very rushed and it doesn't answer all your questions. A movie like this, I feel, would do really well as a TV show. But there's some really interesting ideas with this, with the idea of even just the simple idea of press this button, you get $1 million, someone dies. That's a metaphorical. What's the word? Hypothetical question that is as old as money. So it's always interesting where a movie sort of comes from that place. They probably could have done so much more with it. But yeah, the accent that you mentioned of Cameron Diaz is kind of in and out throughout this movie.
Sure.
It at times maybe a little distracting. I kind of wish that she was just doing an accent that she was either her normal accent or an accent that she could more consistently do well. Would have served the film a lot better. Pacing for the most part, I actually didn't mind. I thought it was like it never just dipped to complete dull, nothing happening. Like there was always something to sort of grab your eye. I thought a lot of times the movie looked good. Other than it not being wrapped up well and it being sort of rushed and it just not really, in my opinion, being the format for a story like this. TV show or a book, hell yeah. But I honestly didn't mind it. I thought it was an all right movie. I'd probably watch it again to see if I could pick up on any things I didn't see before. But it was just kind of like a bit of a messy good time. I didn't mind it at all.
Yeah. I've got to say, I'm very shocked that you liked this more than I anticipated. I was expecting you and BP to, block me on Facebook, send a cease and desist.
Why did you make us watch this?
Burn my house down, same old.
It's not bad. It's just not good.
I remember when I watched this the first time and I liked the mystery portion of it. I saw this before I watched Donnie Darko, and then this made me watch Donnie Darko, I think, because I was like, oh, it's the same writer-director, let's go into it. And I did go to the movies twice to see this. The second time I didn't like it as much. I think I was expecting to find more answers to so many questions I had. But, there's certain things where I feel like you were spot on about the pacing. There's some eerily creepy moments, like when they first get the box and the alien character, the guy with half his face missing, turns up at the door and you're just like, what does this mean? Like, why is he here? He's explaining the rules. It all seems simple. I just think it loses some of its momentum, particularly when it gets to I know it's not intending to be funny, but there's that scene where James Marsden's character is in the library and suddenly every single person in the library starts following him, trying to push him towards that evil librarian. And I know they built it up to be suspenseful, but watching these people just walk and follow him, I was like, this is so funny. It's in a library. I'm waiting for someone to be like, shh, yeah. And then when she enacts the 3 pillars of water and he's like, oh, so what do I do if I don't choose the right one? She's like, eternal damnation. I'm like, it's just so... I don't know, I got more Twin Peaks vibes from some segments compared to what I thought was going to be a mystery, drama, thriller. Likewise, I do think it would work way, way better as a TV show. Maybe they could do an episode that's the backstory of the alien/astronaut character, why he's part of this conspiracy to test humans. But BP, do you have any thoughts? Am I safe? Are you going to try and burn my house down?
Yeah, this film, I wouldn't watch it again. I didn't really like it. I think I was a bit kind of put off by the plot, or the premise of the film sounds really interesting and sort of inviting, oh yeah, this sounds interesting. And I think the way they went about this film kind of went in a way that kind of just annoyed me in the end. I kind of wish it went in a different direction. As Coop and you both said, it kind of just goes off into tangents of things that are just kind of annoying and just confusing. I agree with Cameron Diaz's accent. When I first heard it, I didn't know if I should be annoyed at it or if she actually is doing a good job. I couldn't pick it, but I think as it went on, I just got more annoyed at her accent than anything. I think the relationship she has with James Marsden in this movie, this is a classic example of when we were talking about, is it Child's Play 2? And we were talking about the husband and wife of, what's his face? The daughter, or the girl.
Andy Barclay.
Yeah. And I just felt there was no dynamic going on there at all. I just felt like it was two actors that got thrown into a role. Cameron Diaz, I appreciate as an actress. I just don't feel like she should have been in this film, period. And James Marsden, apart from like Sonic the Hedgehog, I don't feel like he's done anything good either. There's some good scenes in it, but it's overall the film was I don't know. I just felt the premise wasn't going the way, I guess, when I looked at the poster and when I read it the way I wanted it to go. And so it kind of just bothered me in the end. So it kind of just left me feeling like, I don't know, it wasn't really a good film at all.
Yeah. You know that scene where Cameron Diaz, or is it one of the two, was stuck in like the water cube that's hovering above the bed, and then the water releases all over the bed. For some reason, I thought of Saw 5, where Hopkins in the water cube trap. I was like, oh, okay, is she gonna like drown or something? Is this a test or whatever? But
you're not thinking of Saw 3D, where she's at the start, she's like a Tina.
Yeah, and she's suspended above the saws and shit.
I think we're breaking up with you.
Bloody. I'm trying to think my favorite part of the movie. For me, it's not the cast, it's not the story per se. I think it's actually the cinematography, because there's some shots that I really liked from a framing perspective. Like, everything's quite centered. As a perfectionist, I love when things just look filmed. Like, I could tell that this wasn't, or if it was filmed with digital cameras, they added some film effects, like some grain, some like blurs in the background, and some of the color schemes I really appreciated as well. I know this was supposed to be quite a period piece, so it looks very 80s, 70s, 90s, pick any decade, and just like all the little details, like when they're in the kitchen and she's having a conversation with the alien astronaut character, they've got a really small TV that was very popular for that decade. And I was like, I just appreciate when there's things like that. Like, I get frustrated when I see a movie that's like, this took place in 1974, and then the crew have left like an iPhone in the background, or there's some technology that didn't get...
Like a Starbucks cup or something?
Yeah. Just like little things like that, which admittedly I'm very surprised that there was a huge attention to detail with this movie, because clearly the attention to detail was not in the script.
No.
Mama, this is garbage.
Right here. I love mysteries. I love overblown concepts. As we know, with the TV show, I'm forbidden from talking about, but...
Talk. Shut up, bitch. Shut the fuck up.
It's confusing, but it doesn't have the same legacy as Mulholland Drive, which was a very twisted movie with so many different theories about how the story was, what it was supposed to be about. Is it a dream? Is it a time loop? Is it a Mobius strip where the events happen concurrently?
What the fuck is going on in here on this day?
So something you mentioned before that you thought was funny. One of the parts of that, like the initial, when he initially starts getting followed, before he's actually in the library, I think he's in like a hallway or something, and there's just like people walking. I thought that was actually quite eerie. As well, when he's when they heard him towards the and it's getting all biblical and shit, and there's all those people standing at the desks, and they all start turning around and facing him row by row. I thought that was really well done. Probably just that sort of eeriness as well. I liked when who's the husband in this movie? His name?
James Marsden.
Marsden. Yeah. Arthur was his name in this. When I think he's at the shops, and one of the employees comes up to him and randomly says like, "Oh, like your wife's been taken. They've got your kid. There's no time," and then just like drops dead. I thought that was really like, whoa, that's just up to the ante a little bit. Just those little things that sort of kept you sort of, I don't want to say on the edge of your seat, because it wasn't quite that gripping, but it was you're like, what's going on? Like you're wanting to know. You're not just like, oh fuck, I'm over it. It's like you do want to know what's going on. Like at least it has that intrigue about the movies, and I think that's probably the best thing about it. Yeah, that's true. I actually forgot about that scene where
that woman does come up and then her nose starts bleeding, she seems to faint or drop dead. Like, there's small parts like that that did keep me intrigued. Likewise, when they would show glimpses of the astronaut who, like, you see him in the background, they start talking about how he was struck by lightning. That's what happened to the disfigurement of his face. It's like, I like the explanations as opposed to it just being like, woo, mystery. We're going to use facial disfigurations and physical disability as like a weird scare tactic that can come across as offensive. I thought it was done tastefully to explain why this character is the way he is. But, I mean, when it comes to aliens or it comes to things like that, I automatically tune out. Like, I'm a big X-Files fan, but likewise, I was only really a fan of the X-Files when it came to the Monster of the Week episodes, but then as soon as it gets into the cigarette smoking man and aliens, and it's like a Mulder-centric episode, I'm just like, ugh, really? We're doing this again? Like, fuck, how many finales have they filmed for that show, and yet it's still ongoing? Like, I know Gillian Anderson has said that she'll never do X-Files again. She'll be back. Like, I reckon she'll be back. They can't do it without her. It can't just be the David Duchovny show. Otherwise, it's just Californication with aliens.
I was going to say.
But, BP, did you have any, like, favorite parts of this movie?
Yeah, I really like the library scene. As Coop touched on, I liked the sequence of like everyone turning around at the desk one by one. There was kind of like an effect going on there. Really kind of creepy. It was just sort of like look, slam, look, slam, look, slam. The other creepy scene as well, which I really liked, was when she's on the phone. She's got the call from the guy that dropped the box off, and she's at a house, and then you see the guy walking around outside. And it's just like, he's creepy to look at, but I'm just like, that's not something when he's like, I'm outside your house and he's walking around through the windows. I'm like, that I don't need that. That actually, like, I got quite creeped out by that. But yeah, the library scene was done really well, especially when the guys just kind of kept up with him when he started walking a bit faster, and then they started running as well. Those two sort of scenes were my favorite.
Actually, I changed my thing. My favorite part is actually it is going to be a mixture of the book scene, particularly with the slam into the book. They turn around and it's so immaculately done. I wonder how many takes they had to do for that scene in particular, because there was a lot of extras in that scene as well. So to get them all on the same page would have been difficult. But
yeah,
I was going to say that scene you mentioned where it's one of the employees and he's like, I'm outside your house. So you just see him through the window walking past. I was like, fuck, what's going to happen? Is this random employee gonna kill her or take the kid, or what's gonna happen? But I have many least favorite parts of this movie, but I'm just gonna say it's the writer-director overall. I just think he has these big grandiose ideas but doesn't know how to simplify it. Likewise, maybe he did approach this as a TV series. They said no, but they said yes to a film, so you had to cut out very important key scenes. The same thing actually happened to David Lynch. Mulholland Drive was supposed to be a TV show, and then they filmed the TV series, and then they changed their mind at the last minute. They told him it could only be a film, nothing else. So then he edited out, I think it was something like 6 hours of content to make Mulholland Drive. But what I felt that he did right was that even though it's clear there's so many scenes missing and some plot points never get wrapped up in that film, it's done in a way so that at least you leave that movie feeling somewhat satisfied. And yes, you can obviously tell that it was supposed to be a TV series and turned into a movie, but, you know, it just has a better outcome overall. Like, this movie received an F scale at Cinema Score when they surveyed random audiences. When I watched this movie at the cinema, I think I gave it a B- the first time, but now I would probably give it a D-. I would never say F because I still have some love for this movie, but I don't know. I just think the writer-director needs to, and I said this in the Donnie Darko podcast, he just needs to have some kind of like person that reviews his work, or someone that just sits him down and says, good job, that was a great first draft. Do another one. Like, just needs to edit his work or somewhat. Coop, did you have any least favorite part of the movie?
Yeah, I did, but I had fun with it, and it was what you mentioned before about the water. that comes up, and he's got to pick one. So I turned to my partner. I said, "All right, I know how he's got to do this. He's got to press start. He's got to get his arrows out. He needs to look for the golden eye. He needs to shoot it, and the water levels will change so he can jump across them to the locked door." That's exactly what it looked like to me, was those water things in the water temple in Zelda. It just looked stupid, and it was getting a little bit too kind of biblical at that point. I was like, okay. And I wondered if there was some sort of offshoot between the aliens at that point, and it was just getting a bit too muddled at that point towards the end of the movie. So I'd probably say that's my least favorite part.
Yeah, that's fair. And also, I'm still going to say it, Ocarina of Time is still one of the best video games of all time. There's so many times I'll watch, not even horror movies, just like TV shows or reality shows, like the new reboot of The Mole that came out on Netflix. I was so surprised that show got rebooted because the ratings were so bad across all the different franchises from late 2000s to early 2010s, and I thought, why did it get rebooted? I didn't think anyone cared for it anymore outside of like you and I, Coop. And then like there were so many challenges in that show where I was like, oh, that reminds me of the Fire Temple. They've got to press on switches to unlock the gate. So I was like, is a Goron going to come out and be like, or you know, just random shit like that. But BP, did you have any least favorite parts of the box?
Yeah, well, as I explained earlier, I think what I expected going off the plot, and then what actually kind of happened, it just kind of annoyed me. I think this movie could have been tightened in a lot of ways. Like, looking at the runtime, this is nearly 2 hours, and we're all talking that there's a lot of loose ends. And I think if you can't wrap it up in 2 hours and make it somewhat like decent, viewable sort of experience, then I don't think you should be directing movies, to be honest, or writing movies for that fact.
Nothing new, nothing changed, same old shit. Same old fucking shit.
Put Drew Barrymore in there or something.
Amanda Bynes.
Yeah, it's just, I don't know. It's such a bizarre choice. And yeah, as Coop said as well, it goes kind of into biblical sort of tangents as well. You're already sort of confused at some points, and then you get more stuff thrown on you on top, and it's just sort of like, what's going on now? I think, if it got I think there's another approach to this, how this film could have gone, and it could have just been, you know, James Marsden and Cameron Diaz sitting around a table and working out what the box is actually going to do, and it could have been in another exciting approach as to how it's going to go. So apart from some good scenes, a lot of it was just a sort of a mess in the end.
Write that down, write that down!
So what this story was originally based on was an 80s Twilight Zone episode that was very simple in concept. This married couple who were much more believable compared to Cameron Diaz and James Marsden. They get a box, and all the instructions say is that if they press the button, someone who they don't know in the world will die. So there's some elements where the script is word for word, but the episode, it just focuses on this couple. They discuss whether they can live with the guilt of killing someone. Likewise, they discuss how, like, would we even get $1 million? Like, what if we press it, nothing happens? Is it just a prank? Is it just, like, how would it logically kill someone by pressing the button? And then, you know, spoilers, but the wife ends up pressing the button to get the $1 million and her husband dies. And then when this character, who's not an alien, just happens to be a random salesperson, comes to get the box and delivers the $1 million, she's like, I thought you said it'd be someone I don't know. And the person goes, well, did you really know your husband? And then it ends. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. It's like a nice little thing about mortality. But it left me more satisfied than the box did. Whereas when I saw the poster and I saw the trailer and everything, I was like, oh, this is going to be really full to the wall. You know, it's going to be the effects after they push the button, which, yes, this movie does show, but I did not anticipate aliens. I did not expect biblical things. I certainly didn't expect a bleeding librarian lifting water temple style water columns and shit like that. So when I was watching the movie, I'm like, was this in the trailer that I watched? I don't remember this. But I do have a question though for you both. If given the same option, would you press the button? Coop, I'll start with you.
No, I feel like it's there's too much risk involved. How are they going to know who you know and who you don't know? Like, yeah, there's just way too much risk involved, in my opinion. So no.
Fair enough. What about you, BP?
Are we knowing the repercussions, or we don't know the repercussions yet?
The other repercussions you know is that someone will die, but you don't know anything about aliens and people standing outside your house.
I don't know. I say no now, but I probably would in the moment. I'd be like, I'd probably get like a Combag thing saying like overdraw account or something. Yeah, I probably should take it. So it sounds too good to be true, especially when it comes out of the blue. So you wonder like, so I'd probably say no, to be honest.
I'd be like, get out of my house.
I'd say tell your story walking. Take your briefcase.
I'd open the door and the person would be there with the box, and I'd be like, "Oh, great, Mormons!" No. But BP and Coop, thank you both for joining me again today.
Thank you.
No worries.
Listeners, in our next episode, we analyze another Christmas Tale, this time Rare Exports, also called A Christmas Tale, a 2010 Finnish fantasy action horror film written and directed by Jalmari Hilander about people living near, I was about to say the Volturi, but it's pronounced Corva Tunturi, who discover the secret behind Santa Claus.
Your mistletoe is no match for my toe missile.
Like, comment, share, tip, etc., etc. And if you hated this episode,
Into the unknown. Almost impossible.